We definitely recommend renting a Jeep, especially when it rains and you have these steep inclines. The extra traction was a must-have. Absolutely. And so it's very beautiful, very tropical, but rugged with the mountains and hills surrounding the ocean edges. Makes it for a very adventurous vacation.
If you give a tourist a Jeep, they think they're invincible, and so you got to watch it.
Then you either accidentally end up on there because they're not very well marked boats, or you'll end up waiting around longer.
Maybe don't wear your flip-flops.
Yeah, definitely wear water shoes or something.
Yeah, you don't have to have like hiking boots, but just be aware that if you're wearing your fine white pants, they're probably going to get muddy. They have this kind of barge-like taco shack in the middle of the water with what they call lily pads, where you can sit and float, and they'll bring you tacos and margaritas and other delicious drinks.
And several different types of tacos.
You can get drinks, cold beers, all the way up to warm and cold sandwiches. So,
yep, and it's beautiful. It's the longest beach on St. John.
So from beautiful views on top of the hills here, looking down at the beaches, to beautiful white sand, to taco bars in the middle of the water. It has something for everyone.
We're Jay and Bea, and at the beginning of 2021, we hit the road permanently. We traded our city apartment for a constant stream of Airbnbs, new states, and places, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Come along with us as we explore all the U.S. and beyond has to offer, and join us as we continue
Living on the Way.
Hello there, and welcome to Living on the Way, the podcast where we share real stories of working remotely, exploring new places, and finding freedom on the road, or in this case, by air and on water. I'm Bea.
And I'm Jay. And today we're in one of the most stunning places, St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
And we just got back from the beach, and this is our view. And from Jeeps to ferries to floating taco bars, this trip has been a bit of everything. So let's dive into how we got here, how we're exploring, and what we're loving so far.
And there is a lot to love.
Yes. Let's start with the journey, because getting to St. John isn't your typical airport to Airbnb route. It's a bit of a process.
What were your first impressions of getting off the airplane back in St. Thomas?
Yeah, so getting off the plane, it's very much like an island airport where you get off on the tarmac. You don't get off inside.
Yeah, go down the stairs, go down the ramps, you got the humid, warm air.
Yeah, you hit the humidity almost immediately, especially midday like we flew in at.
But easy peasy, small airport.
Easy.
Easy off, easy through.
Yeah, and we didn't check bags, so we can't speak to that. But with carry-ons, just walked right off.
Yeah, we were out of the airport in 5 minutes.
We went to Enterprise has a shuttle. They pick you up. They don't have a desk at the airport, but that was really easy.
Yeah, and all the car rentals appear to be off-site, so you can check in at the airport, but you're going off-site to get your actual vehicle.
Yeah, so why did we get the Jeep instead of a regular car? What was our thinking behind that?
Well, the reviews ahead of time said it was a good idea, and we definitely doubled down on that's a very good idea. This island of St. John, and St. Thomas for that matter, are very rough. They are paved for the most part, but they are very rough. They're not well maintained. And then the inclines, especially here on St. John, where it's very steep and mountainous, very close to shore, you're doing a lot of switchbacks, a lot of very steep angles. We definitely recommend renting a Jeep, especially when it rains and you have these steep inclines. The extra traction was a must-have.
Right. And, there's potholes everywhere. I think on St. Thomas, you might be able to get away with it if it hasn't rained. But we were at Enterprise, and the people next to us had gotten an intermediate car. And she wasn't trying to be a salesman. She was just trying to let the guy know, hey, are you sure? Are you sure you want a car? Are you just staying on St. Thomas? Are you sure you're not going to St. John? And I think that's an important thing. If you get a car, you're very limited on where you can go. So we have an Airbnb up in the hills, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. But I don't think it would have been very enjoyable to have a car.
Yep. Get a Jeep, make it easy. Then we took a quick detour over to a couple grocery stores. Cost you less, and a Walgreens, where we could stock up on the groceries that we're going to need for the next several days.
Yeah, and cost you less. What would you call that, Jay?
Think like Caribbean Costco.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of a hack that we actually learned in Vegas is to order ahead at Walgreens.com, and you get a little bit better deal. You get the sales prices, you don't pay island prices. So we went to Walgreens, picked up an order that we placed, mostly water and snacks, a couple juices, things like that. And then we went to Cost You Less, where we picked up staples like meats and cheeses and salads. And I was actually pleasantly surprised by the prices of groceries, at least on St. Thomas. That's why we started at St. Thomas.
Yeah, we knew in St. John there was limited options, expensive, but the St. Thomas two options that we hit, Cost You Less and Walgreens, the way we did it was definitely very much like being back home in the USA.
Right, in the mainland. And so once we got our groceries, we decided to spend one night in St. Thomas.
Right, yeah, we stayed one night at Sapphire Bay, which we do recommend. It was real close to where the car ferry picks up in Red Hook. And so waking up in the morning and having a nice short drive over there made for a stress-free morning.
Yeah, an interesting fact. In 2007, we took a cruise to the Caribbean and we stopped at St. Thomas. And while everyone goes to Megan Bay and all the other beaches, and I think they're all beautiful, we actually took, in 2007, their taxis, which are just trucks with seats in the back, up to Sapphire Bay. So what's that, 18 years later?
Yeah, 18 years later.
18 years later. A lot had changed, but we still got some of the pictures we had taken back then, and it's still the ocean and the islands, they still look the same.
Yeah, a little more build up around the ocean, but the ocean is beautiful as ever. So yeah, Sapphire Bay, great place to stay, right by Red Hook where the car ferry, where we took our Jeep over to St. John's. We headed to St. John because we are visiting all the national parks. So St. John's has 60% of it is one of the U.S. national parks, one of 63.
Yeah, and I hear varying percentages, but 60% is what I hear the most. So 60, 70, majority of the island is the national park.
Absolutely. And so it's very beautiful, very tropical, but rugged with the mountains and hills surrounding the ocean edges makes it for a very adventurous vacation.
Yeah, so when you fly into St. Thomas, you get the car ferry. And we mentioned that a little earlier where we stayed right near the car ferry.
So to get to St. John, you could take a people ferry where they just take you across as a person, and you can take a taxi to get around. But as we've noted, we wanted to take our Jeep over because
we're staying on St. John.
We're staying in St. John for several days, and to really get around the national park and the island as a whole, we decided to take the car ferry.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note because a lot of people visit St. Thomas and then St. John as cruise ship. In fact, that's what we did. We went to St. Thomas the first time on a cruise ship. So you can take those people ferries. But again, we're staying here for several days. So how it works, and I think it's important to note because online there's a lot of no one really knows. People are upset. They don't know. So you basically, and I will say this, show up at the ferry terminal, put that into your Google Maps, go to the ferry terminal, and get on the first ferry you find. And there's different ones that run. This is the big thing I think we need to know.
Yeah, there's two different companies.
At least.
And so if you pre-purchase tickets, one, you're not guaranteed to get on that ferry. If people are already in line, they're going to let them on. And second is if the next ferry up is a different company, then you either accidentally end up on there because they're not very well marked boats, or you'll end up waiting around longer. So our recommendation is to
just show up.
Just show up, get in line, and
pay on the ferry.
Pay on the ferry when they come around to each window.
Yeah, so you're going to go into, there's a person at a little stand, and you're going to pay a port fee. It was like $4 when we went. I don't know what the point of that is, but it's basically just to drive past the lady in the booth. And then you're going to get in line. And sometimes that can be very obvious, and sometimes it's kind of like you're not sure, but once you get there, someone will help you. And then get on the ferry, and then someone will come around and take your money. It was cash only?
It was cash only.
Cash only. So it's $50 each way. And here's where they get you, right? So you can buy round trip, and you can save $35. But again, like Jay mentioned, if when you're coming back from St. John, and it's a different company, your round trip's not going to work, I don't believe. I mean, maybe it will. Again, it's all very much just show up, get on the boat, pay.
At least for the first one, from St. Thomas over to St. John, probably just take the first one you can. Mm-hmm. Going back, you can try to time it up based on their schedule. Although at least with ours, they left earlier than the schedule.
So that's the ferry. Yeah, you back in, which was an experience. I backed in next to a dump truck and we hit the water. Actually, we were in the water.
Yep, we just stayed in the car for the 30 minutes or so ride from port to port. And then when they hit the other side of St. John's, down goes the metal steel wall and off you drive.
Yeah, and so we were on St. John at that moment. And two things. First things first. One, we wanted to visit the National Park
Visitor Center,
which apparently is closed on Saturdays, which I guess there's not that many ships in port, so they don't open on Saturdays. We will do that hopefully on our way back out. But we did take our pictures at the National Park sign. And officially, I'm at park number 45.
And I'm at 44.
So we did that. And then right away, second step, once we found a parking spot, we went to the St. John's, I think it's called the St. John's Brewery tap room.
Yep, and Cruz Bay, which is where you dock on the ferry in, the most populous big town here in St. John.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect and refreshing launching point for us. We love breweries, so we tried a bunch of beers, little, tasters, ranked them on Untappd.
Absolutely. And so then after wrapping up eating lunch there, the real venture began. We started driving in St. John, which is definitely no joke. You're on the left side of the road, same as St. Thomas, so you're driving opposite of what you're used to in the U.S., Canada. And you still have a U.S.-style car, so the steering wheel's still where it's supposed to be, but you're driving on the other side of the road.
So along our way, we've spotted wildlife,
if you will. Wildlife.
So
a lot of wild farm animals, or old farm animals.
Right, we have wild donkeys,
goats,
chickens, and we even saw a mongoose 2 separate times. And of course, the chaotic iguana just running across the road.
Yeah, many iguanas, a couple mongoose, and lots of different types of birds as well.
Yeah, just rolling around the island is an experience in and of itself. And I highly recommend it if you're not intimidated.
Highly recommended.
Highly recommend it. It's fun. They are mostly paved, but that doesn't make it any easier. It just means that you have a little more traction and you know where the road is. But people just drive wherever, so you have to be a confident driver.
Absolutely. And our Airbnb is up here on, as many are, up on one of the ridge lines of the hills.
Right. And the driveways on these hills are like roller coaster rides. You just go straight down, turn.
Drive across a washout.
Right.
Make another hard turn, drive across another washout, and then you make it up. But, again, very easy in a four-wheel drive vehicle.
I personally am starting to really love off-roading, and so this has been a taste of it. And also controlling your vehicle when everyone else around you doesn't know exactly what they're doing. Because I always say, if you give a tourist a Jeep, they think they're invincible, and so you got to watch it. So it's always been fun. So that first day, it was a little rainy when we crossed over into St. John, but then the sun kind of came out. It was a little cloudy, but not rainy the rest of the day. So we decided to go along what I believe is shoreline, drive or road, but it goes along all the national park sites that you've heard before.
North Shore Road, that's the name of the road. Yeah, we stopped at an old windmill.
Yeah, it was Peace Hill
Trail,
Windmill, I believe.
Sugar plantations that were here in the 1800s. There's many ruins, actually, all over the island. This one was large and close to the road, so it's only a short, maybe quarter-mile hikes, a couple 100 feet up, and you can go up and check out just the base of the old windmill. And then, of course, you get a beautiful view of Trunk Bay.
It was a little muddy, and it is straight uphill, so maybe don't wear your flip-flops.
Yeah, definitely wear, Tevas or water shoes or something.
Yeah, you don't have to have, hiking boots, but just be aware that if you're wearing, your fine white pants, they're probably going to get muddy.
Yeah, St. John's probably not the place for those.
No.
And then went down to Trunk Bay.
Yes, and we got incredibly lucky, again, because I think it had rained and the sun had just come out. People weren't at the beach because it's notorious for being hard to find parking because it gets really busy really early. It's actually one of the more popular things people do. So we got lucky and we got a parking spot.
Yep, and then walk down. They have all the amenities there, food, restrooms, place to clean up. You pay a fee per person, national park fee, to access this one. It's the only one you have to pay to access, but we wanted to do it. But it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, it's well known for a reason, right? Beautiful sand, amazing ocean color, some islands close by you could swim out to, snorkeling all around.
And there's supposed to, when we didn't do this, but there is a snorkeling trail in the water where they have different plaques I've read. We just went to see the beach. We weren't there to have a beach day, but you can definitely do that if you have snorkel gear. If you've rented it or an Airbnb where you're staying has it, that's something people recommend.
After Trunk Bay, we went back to the car and then headed up farther on the road to Annaberg Sugar Plantation Ruins, one of the better preserved and marked of the history of a sugar plantation and the sugar production that happened here in the 17 to 1800s, and then the end of it. And also talked to you about how sugar was made and, of course, some of the somber history.
Jay loves to read every sign, so he read all the signs, gave me the highlights. But someone like me that likes to wander, it had beautiful views of, I believe, the British Virgin Islands, a couple other islands out there. And it was just, that's where I think I got my favorite pictures of just the ocean and the islandscape. So it was a beautiful place.
Yep, good views.
I loved, for me personally, I really loved to see the coral that they had built into kind of some of the pillars. I think that was really neat. I think that's something is very unique.
Well worth a visit for sure.
Yeah. It's important to note you park down low and then take the stairs up, and that was free.
Yep.
So that was our first day.
Yeah, and then a couple of the other things we recommend that we did in the subsequent days. We found a floating taco bar. It's definitely a cool vibe. We booked a boat ride with Captain Johnny Cakes, who pulled up close to shore where we parked down in Coral Bay. We got on his little dinghy. He drove us over to this floating taco restaurant.
Yeah, and the name of it's Lime Out, and they have this kind of barge-like taco shack in the middle of the water with what they call lily pads, where you can sit and float, and they'll bring you tacos and margaritas and other delicious drinks.
And several different types of tacos, and it's a good relaxing time hanging out in the sun, eating some lunch, and enjoying the Coral Bay views.
It's important to note that you can only get there by boat. If you have a boat, you can anchor up. They also have what's called a water shuttle that you can take, but you have to swim from the shuttle to these lily pads. But the reason why I chose, I think I'll put his website down below, but Captain Johnny Cakes, is because he has a little dinghy and he works with them directly, and you can just get right off the dinghy onto the lily pad. So no swimming. It's a little awkward, but it was much easier, I think, than swimming out to the lily pad.
And we're very glad we did it. Bea got a little seasick, so be forewarned. If you get seasick,
you get motion sickness.
that you are out there floating.
Which I did not think through. I had not thought about that fact that I am on the water. I should have taken something.
But certainly well worth it and very unique. That's a great way to enjoy the ocean.
Yeah, so we had 3 tacos. The curry taco, that was curry taco. It was like an island version of curry taco, chicken taco. But then we had a shrimp jerk Caribbean kind of taco, which was their special. And then we got, I think, a short rib taco. They were amazing.
Yeah, they hit the spot. Good, not great, but they hit the spot in very unique setting.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I will have a clip of us getting our tacos. They send them out on a little floaty to your lily pad, which is really hard to explain if you don't know. But again, if you're watching it via YouTube, you'll see some of the clips from that.
And then the next day, we made a beach day of it.
Right. So we're not necessarily beach people, but you can't not have
When in
beach
Rome.
day. Like these beaches are just too easy to do.
So calm, so beautiful, and the sand is ridiculously soft. Sure.
Yeah. So we went back up to
Cinnamon Bay.
Beautiful.
Yep. Quite a bit of parking. You walk down probably like 1/8 of a mile, 1/4 mile, get down to the beach. Again, it has all the amenities you could ever want.
Including
Food stand, drink
food.
stands, restrooms, all the rental things you could if you need them.
Right. And I think that's important to note because you can get drinks, cold beers, all the way up to like warm and cold sandwiches. So
Yep. And it's beautiful. It's the longest beach on St. John. So it did not feel crowded at all.
And our Airbnb provided us with this nice beach umbrella cabana thing and chairs and a cooler. So we were just able to sit there in the sun. And luckily, it was a beautiful sunny day. And everything just worked out for the perfect beach day.
Yeah, I think those happen a lot here, which is why
Yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
popular to visit St. John for the adventurous stuff up in the mountains and for the beaches.
So from beautiful views on top of the hills here, looking down at the beaches, to beautiful white sand, to taco bars
Yep.
in the middle of the water, It has something for everyone.
If you're thinking of adding St. John to your list, do it.
Absolutely. So thanks for listening. And don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, we will be
Living on the way.